You're listening to Season 2 of It's Not Out There, It's In You. I'm Todd Cahill, and thanks so much for listening.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. It's Not Out There, It's In You. This is Todd Cahill. Thank you so much for joining me today, and Happy New Year. Happy new decade. It's an honor to bring Season 2 of my podcast to you all over the country and all over the world. Thanks so much for tuning in. And today is going to be an amazing episode of really establishing the foundation of your 2020, really even 5 years out. But before I do that, I just want to really get to the source of my message. Just like my podcast is called It's Not Out There, It's In You, my job is every single week not only to bring the content to you myself, but to really align with and collaborate with some of the biggest names, thought leaders in the subject of mental health and understanding how great that human beings really are in stepping into your own power and really transforming your life. You know, nothing gets me more excited than seeing a transformation, whether it's in someone's health, their wealth, their relationships, a marriage, just within themselves. Because I truly believe when you take full responsibility for your life, no matter what drama you have in your life right now, whatever you're going through, negative, positive, whatever, if you can come to the realization that it's all your fault, no matter what, it's all of you, it's only you, and you could be the biggest enemy of your life, or you could be the biggest and best friend of your life. And it really, that's why I wrote the book You vs. You in 2019 that came out, The 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win, is because I truly believe that this is a battle that we all face as human beings. And if we can win this battle and not chase the things that society's telling us to chase, the nice homes, the cars, the relationships, the money, the power, but that all can come though. Don't get me wrong. That's not a bad thing. Having a great lifestyle, being in great relationships, living in a beautiful home. I mean, I'm not against any of that. I love all of it. But if you can not look at that as like everyone else looks at it, as setting goals to get that, because once you chase money, money can't be chased. Money chases you. Once you have a thought and it becomes something that's of value, money just chases you. And a lot of people nowadays are broke because, why is that, by the way? Why are most people broke? You know, anytime you go to the ATM, you know, usually you'll see a receipt in the ATM, and I always like looking at them. I'm not trying to be nosy or anything, but if people leave them, I'm going to look at them. And it's like, you know, available balance, $281. Available balance, $512. And it's like, how can an American family live off, you know, just $500, you know, in the next 2 weeks? And I mean, I get it. I know how they do it. Of course, I've been there too. So I know how to do it. You get really, really creative and even sell, you know, some clothes or some shoes or have a garage. I mean, whatever you got to do to survive. I get it. We're humans of survival. I mean, the survival of the fittest, right? But at the same time is when does somebody actually create awareness in their own life and say, why am I been taught, go to school, get good grades so that I can get this job that after 10 years, 20 years, it's not really, of course, fulfilling, but at the same time, it's not even really giving me anything financially. And I'm still struggling. I'm going through relationship issues. And, you know, like they say, most divorces end, you know, number one reason that divorces end is because of money, right? But again, if we're all about chasing money, we're chasing goals, we're chasing, you know, the better life, you're just probably going to be like 97% of everyone else that never hits their goals, that never really reach that full, you know, incredible point of their life where they really are fulfilled because they're doing the work that they truly decided that they wanted to do, and the money follows them because they're more engulfed in the actual action of the impact that they're trying to make or even going after to make a massive impact, not only in their own life, in their own inner circle, but they're also even their world or their community. That's where the money really comes. That's why I started a podcast. You know, I want to add value, and whether it's through podcasts or social media or Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, there's a lot of things I've learned. There's a lot of things that I've continued to learn, especially in the past 12 months that I believe could be of value to certain people that are looking for clarity. And if you're one of them, if you're someone that says, look, I'm looking for clarity. I want to know clearly why I'm on this earth. What is my purpose? What is my calling? What is my, thing that I'm focused on? What's my bullseye? Because in the past, I've just been struggling financially so much in the you versus you, kind of money issue, or the you versus your relationship issue. And it's just like, how does this stop? How is this year going to be different than last year? And even if you might be like me in the past, maybe you're even nervous or anxious about 2020, and you look at the past not only 12 months, but you look at the past 10 years, the past decade, and you see your ups, you see your downs, you see maybe it's mostly downs. Maybe, and I'm not trying to be negative, I'm just maybe putting things in perspective. Maybe it's been a hell of a ride, and you learned a lot, you have a lot of scars, and a lot of learning things that you've been through, but you definitely don't want to keep learning. Learning is great. Of course, knowledge is power, especially specific knowledge, strategic knowledge that are going to add value to your life. I mean, that's everything. But when does it come to the point of a person's life where they learn, but they're actually taking real life action and they're getting real life results? So this is the podcast that I really want you to take and not just learn and be inspired by maybe a guest each week that makes your hour, makes your day even, but it really is applicable to whatever it is that you're going through in life. And again, it's the 12 battles that I wrote about in my book. And instead of chasing what society tells you to chase, like money, like the lifestyle even, not that anything's bad, but what if you were chasing you 10 years from now? Like Matthew McConaughey talks about in his Oscar speech a few years ago, chasing the better version of you, but how to really step into that power. So today, I'm going to give you some practical things that are going to allow you to step fully into your power, but create a foundation. And that's why I'm doing this solo on episode 1 of season 2, because I want to help establish a foundation for you, giving you practical, not even advice, but actually systems that are proven systems that you can implement. All it takes is a piece of paper and a pen that you like to write with, and really go at it in the next week before the next podcast drops, to even give you a homework assignment, if you will. So I'm going to keep it simple today. Again, I just want to commend you for listening and really add as much value as I can to you, in this podcast here. And definitely tune in and week out. Like I said, we're going to have incredible guest speakers that are going to be speaking about really the power within. And I will say, I'm not all about we all have the power within us and we don't need any help. We can do everything ourselves. That's actually not at all what I'm speaking of. I just basically believe that the talents are in the gifts that God's given you are in you somewhere, right? They're somewhere in there. And the desires are even there. And God's given you the desire to be something great. He hasn't created you for just to pay the bills and die. He's created you for something incredible. But you, like most people, if you're not living that full potential, you're probably in a depression. You're in a funk. Maybe you just kind of ignored it for years and years, and you're comfortable and you got a comfortable job and a comfortable life, and you're too civilized to really even create the self-awareness, but maybe just even got on this podcast by accident or so on, whatever you want to call it. And now I have your attention because the civilized life is definitely probably one of the most weak lives. It's not the fulfilling life that you might think it is. A fulfilling life is a life of significance, and significance always comes with, success always comes with significance. So if you're living a significant life, of course, the success, the money, I wouldn't say fame, because I don't think we need to go after fame. If anyone's trying to go after fame, that's the wrong idea. But fame could come. Because you're adding so much value. And because of fame, you have a platform and a bigger platform, and that platform gets bigger and bigger, and you can add even more value and change the world so whatever that looks like for you in your own life, okay? So I'm here to give you the foundation of how to walk into your power, step into your power, run into your power, however you want to call it, but not just by saying, hey, here's how you set some annual goals. Okay, so here's the deal. So I've learned there's 4 steps to achievement. And if you ever want to become significant in your life and achieve things. Now, let's talk about achievement. What's more important, success or achievement? Achievement, right? I could have success. I could have a 15-minute, claim to fame, or, 50 minutes of fame, but I'm not really achieving anything. Look at some of these reality TV shows. A lot of these people haven't achieved anything. They might be famous because their parents were famous or something like that. Or maybe they're just so dramatic that we all love watching the drama, and look at our life like our life isn't that bad because look at these people on national television. But I promise you, when it comes down to it, the core of our being longs to achieve things, longs to achieve greatness. Our competitive spirit, our healthy competitive spirit, I should say, really wants to compete against ourselves. We want to see, okay, and even if you look at the Facebook memories, it's like, oh, there was a year ago. Where was I at a year ago? Where was I at mentally a year ago, physically a year ago? And of course, it's probably not going to make your day if you look better a year ago than you look now. Maybe you gained more weight, or maybe you lost weight, and maybe you look better now than you did a year ago or even 2 years ago. So we all as human beings, especially if you're of the entrepreneur mentality, is we know that you have to grow. It's a choice that you have to make. You either have to choose to grow or decline, because not that you choose to decline, because who does that? But if you don't choose to grow, then obviously there's only another step, and that's to decline. The other option is just decline. You basically, what that means is you're dying off and you're not getting to that potential, that God-given potential that we all have. That birthright that you have as a human being living on this planet, that really God's given you, that talent and that desire of your heart. So how to get that out of you? That's the question, right? Because I believe everything is inside of all of us, but we definitely can't do it by ourselves. And there's no such thing as a self-made man or woman. I think people have everything that they want inside of them, yes. But to actually say that I'm self-made is I don't even think it's a thing. I think what is a thing is to know the power you have within you, then getting a coach and a mentor and a team around you. And you look, of course, sports, and the best athletes always have a team around them. If it's a team game, or if it even an individual sport like track and field. And I've been a part of both, and you're still going to have a coach. You're still going to have a head coach and maybe an assistant coach, and people to confide in, people to give you advice and, of course, coach you up in that sport. So in life, we need the same thing, if not more intense and stuff like that. So I'm here to guide you on this podcast to really help you create success inside of yourself, but actually put pen to pad and know what to do. So the first really step is the 5-year vision. So what I would recommend you do listening to this podcast to really develop yourself into a leader, to transform your life in 2020, which is going to take some time. It's not going to be overnight, but this is going to be the first step, is you got to come to the point where, first of all, yes, you have to have a 5-year vision or even a 10-year vision. But really the first step is to define your reality. Max Dupree has a quote, and I love this quote. It says, the first responsibility of any leader, and that's who I'm talking to. So if you're listening to this podcast, you are a leader. And you might not be a proven leader where you're in achieving all this success yet, but I'm telling you, by listening to this podcast, you are already a leader. Because look, in order for you to lead others, you have to lead yourself. And you have to be able to every day have a routine, have a calendar, be able to lead you, because that's the you versus you battle. And eventually you will have the authority to lead others. And again, you'll gain influence in the real world and even on social media too. But having that achievement, success stories in your field, in your business, at your job, whatever that looks like, or even the transition into another career because you have the self-awareness and starting to gain that confidence that you could do something even better and bigger than you're doing right now. So you're gaining the clarity, which is focus, and that's going to create this energy it's incredible. So how does that start? So what do you mean define reality? So I would say the best thing that anyone can do if they want to take their life to the next level in 2020 is write down their current reality. And you're looking at your finances, you're looking at your mindset, your mental health in 2019, up until this point, your financial situation up until this point, your social life up until this point, really even the past 12 months on up until this point, your spiritual life. What does that look like? What do you believe in? Are you in alignment with that? Or have you not really even given a lot of thought or time to put in your spiritual alignment, which we're all spiritual beings. So if you're not really focused on your spiritual life, then that's probably why maybe, probably just out of guessing myself, that you're not really fulfilled right now or happy or joyful, because you're missing the whole point of living. Because we're spiritual beings, we have souls. So that is obviously a huge one to really master and understand. And then you also have your body, your physical health, and all that stuff that a lot of people put a lot of New Year's resolutions on and stuff like that, but they never follow through. And the reason they don't follow through is because they miss the point of, they don't have a 5-year vision for their body. They don't even have an annual goal for their body. They just they're taking it day by day. And the challenge with day by day is you can easily lose vision. We all know that if there is no vision, that the people perish, right? In the Bible, and the same thing happens to anything. It is true. It's a very true statement. Without vision, people perish. So if you're just in it day by day, but you don't even know why you're doing it, you're never going to be successful at anything that you do. So that's why creating that 5-year vision and then breaking it down to annual goals and then monthly initiatives and then daily action steps is critical. And that's really what the achievement system is all about. But before that all happens, the mind has to come in play. So your mindset has to be right. And it's like, yes, I don't think the greatest thing that most people experience every day is going to their bank account, right? I remember when I was struggling financially. Not that I haven't struggled even recently financially, because we all have our ups and downs, ebbs and flows of investments and income, especially if you're an entrepreneur like myself for the past almost 20 years. It's all commission, up and down. You have a great month, have a bad month, it evens out, whatever. But, a lot of people out there are not jazzed and psyched to go to their bank account. But that's really the first step. Is like not only going to your checking account, but also your savings account and writing down the number, not where you want to be, but where you're currently at. Some of you might be pumped about that, which is great. And you also look at your net worth, your assets, your portfolio, your investment portfolio. What does that look like even if you have one? What is the kind of everything else that, you can accumulate through assets, but then you also have to subtract your assets with your debt to income ratio. And okay, here's my debt, here's my income, here's my assets. Okay, what's my net worth? So most people are negative. Okay. So most people, if they die, someone else is going to have to pay their funeral, or, life insurance or something, it kicks in, and they just don't have, they don't have the extra $15,000, $20,000, even for their own funeral. So obviously that needs to change for a lot of people, their money mindset. And then you also, look at your relationships. It's very easy to gauge relationships, by the way, because it really comes down to 1 out of 10, 10 being the highest, best relationship ever, but your spouse or whatever relationship that you're trying to improve, it really comes down to that actual person that actually gives you the feedback. So imagine going to your spouse after this podcast and asking, hey, honey, hey, husband, hey, wife, hey, significant other, on a scale 1 to 10, 10 being the highest of fulfillment in this relationship that you are at, and happiness with me and happiness with yourself and the joy that this relationship brings to your life, and 1 being the absolute lowest, where am I on the relationship of 1 out of 10? And maybe your spouse, with all the love in her or his eyes, tells you it's a 5. Are you going to get mad at your spouse for being honest with you? Hopefully not. Please don't. But if it's a 5 out of 10, then you're -5. So if your benchmark is 10, the good news is, even in leadership, everyone can develop into a 10 when it comes to relationships. And if it's not with that person, maybe they will never give you a 10. Maybe they're the wrong person, okay? But your person is going to be out there, no question about it, especially if you understand law of attraction and really that you are in charge of creating your own happiness and your own joy in your own life. And that's why it's not out there. It's not in somebody's, even perspective of you, even though the feedback in this particular situation is vital because you're in a relationship with that person. So you can't say, well, I don't care what my wife thinks about me. Well, you need to care. Okay. You can't say that about everybody. But what you can't care about is what society thinks of you, what social media people think of you that are not close to you, that don't even know you. They don't know your life. They don't know your situation. They don't know what you're dealing with and your personal challenges, but yet they can judge you. And then if you take that as like the truth, that's why 97% of people are not successful, because they listen to other people's opinions, which Napoleon Hill calls the cheapest commodity in the world in his book Think and Grow Rich, back written in the 20s, or commissioning the people in the 1920s. So you got to understand, feedback is good when it comes to this particular exercise. So you want to ask your spouse, where am I at? Where, your significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, or if you're single, maybe just ask a sister, a brother, a best friend, like where are you at in their relationship, or even where you're at as a person in their perspective, that someone that you really will trust with feedback. And you can work on that, and you can build a foundation of where you want to be as a person, what you need to be doing differently in the relationship. Maybe, it's anger, it's anxiety, it's fear. Maybe it's working too much. I mean, there's so many things that we can cut back on, and there's also so many things that we can accelerate, in the new year of 2020. So That's something that you just want to come to grips in the 6 areas of your life and really start to grade yourself, in those respective areas. Now, once you do this exercise, which might make a little things somber, but we're talking about transformation. We're talking about, it's in you, and this is how you get it out. This is how you get greatness out of you, is by doing the internal work. And so many people are afraid of the internal work because they just don't want it. They'd rather watch a Netflix show. And I get it. I'd rather sometimes just veg out on my bed or couch and hang out with my spouse and eat chocolate desserts. I mean, I get it. It's so much easier to put this off. It's so much easier to start mid-January as opposed to the beginning of January. It's so easy, half the year's over. It's so easy to already give up and be like, hey, I'll wait for 2021. It's a human condition that's natural to all of us, where we constantly seek our comfort zone, which we feel like nothing ever changes. So again, where does happiness come from? Growth. You want joy, you want happiness, you have to grow. So if you don't grow, because if you choose not to grow, then your only other option is to die. And it might not be physical death right away, but it will be death to happiness. It will be death to joy. It will be death to your relationship, especially if you're with somebody that chooses growth. Okay, a lot of times people don't talk about this, but divorces don't just happen because of money issues. It's because one spouse is growing and the other is not. And we see this all the time, with maybe the husband who just sits on the couch every single weekend, never picks up a book, never, goes to a seminar, doesn't listen to podcasts, but they'll watch football for 8 hours a day on Saturday in college football and then NFL Sunday. And they wonder why, they don't have a great sex life. They wonder why, there's not a lot of communication in the marriage, or even why someone's, secretly cheating on the other person, because we as human beings have needs. Yes, we have individual needs, but when you can actually love yourself enough to understand, okay, there's basic needs for each of us individually. Like for me, my basic need for me is to make sure I eat right, I sleep decently well every night, 6-7 hours a night. I work out 6 days a week minimum. I'm kind of a nutcase, but that is part of my mental health, is cardio and lifting weights and, stretching and yoga, whatever you want to call it. That's amazing for me. I have to do that for me personally. Now, you might not have to do that, but we all have basic needs. Maybe it's going to the spa, or getting your nails done, or getting your hair done every 3 weeks or once a month, or whatever it is. Whatever makes you feel pretty, look handsome, feel great about ourselves. That's attractive. And believe me, taking care of yourself is attractive to your spouse, because it shows that you love yourself. Now, with that said, you don't spend all your time doing that. But in 2020, we also want to start, build that base of like, how can you love yourself more, and what are the action steps that you need to take in order for you to feel better about yourself? And that's really the start. Number 2, from that, after you realize, okay, I got to do this, is how can you serve others? How can you be that 10? Maybe you're a 4 right now in the relationship, okay? So let's dive into that, because it really comes down to, after you do your current reality, number 1 is going to be the 5-year vision. So this is an easy and fun exercise, and also a very creative exercise. But what you want to do is write down, what do you want to be, what do you want to do, and what do you want to have in the next 5 years? And then turn that into 4, 5, 6 paragraphs in present tense. And what you're describing is a day in the life of you in 2025. Yeah, I did okay. So January 2025, a day in the life of you that you write in January 2020. And it's based on what you wrote on your piece of paper of what you want to have, what you want to do, and what you want to become. And you take that and you really treat that seriously, and you want to take the judge's robe off. You don't want to just be basic and, hopefully I get a raise of 10% in 5 years, okay? You're probably, if you're that type of person, you're probably not listening to this podcast, okay? I'm probably hopefully attracting people that are big thinkers, big-minded people, entrepreneur-minded people that really want to take their life to a whole different level, not just the next level. Screw the next level. I mean, 10x, 20x, 100x. And they start really understanding, like, hey, if I think it, and then I actually write it down, I'm building my neurological muscles in my brain that actually, because I'm putting pen to pad, I'm actually doing the physical side of what law of attraction calls. that intention. So my intentions are there. I'm setting my intentions. I'm setting my goals, and then I'm taking the action based on my intentions because I got the focus and the clarity that I needed, which energizes me nonstop, 24/7. And that's why you'll see a very successful and fulfilled person never really want to sleep, even though they might enjoy sleep, but they're like, oh, life is so great. Oh man, I got to go to bed. All right, no problem. But I can't wait to get up in the morning. And you might be annoyed by these people, even on Instagram, because you see them so successful, so happy, and you're almost like fake. These people are fake. Oh, I don't like that person. Why do you not like that person? Because they smile too much, and that can't be real because life is too tough. Life is not that hard. Life is not that great. And now you're becoming a pessimistic person. To see that works. And because of that, now you're gossiping about other people, and it's not because it's not in your alignment, because you're out of alignment. We tend to be jealous of people that are in alignment. But the only thing is you just have to get in alignment and join the party. Join the fun party of people that are fulfilled and don't even care that you don't like the fact that they're in alignment, okay? And they're not thinking about you any more than you're thinking about them. You're probably thinking about them 10 times more than they're thinking about you. Because that's how it works, right? That's why most people are not successful, because it's easy to get addicted to the negativity. It's hard to break that neural loop of our negative thinking. So we've got to understand that, well, in order for us to do that, we've got to be honest with ourselves, and we've got to come to the table of reality. Now, once we do that, we got to create the vision. So I encourage you, do the 5-year vision, write it out. We call it dream boards. Of course, that comes after, but write it in your own words. A day in the life, present tense. Where are you at in 5 years? Where are you living? What's your health look like? What's your relationships look like? What's your business look like? What's your net worth look like? What's your contribution look like? You got to write this down, because thoughts become things. And you're starting to, especially if you meditate, because now you can meditate on the vision. So think about that. Meditating on the vision of what you're doing and what you're building in 5 years is insane, amazing. But most people will never get there because they don't make the commitment to actually just do what I'm sharing with you today and building that foundation. Oh, I'm busy. I got the kids, okay? Kids are not a disease, by the way, so you can't always use that. I have 3 kids too, and I'm doing a podcast. I launched a book. I have a coaching company. I coach many, many people on the group side and the one-on-one side. And yeah, I got 3 kids too. So design your own life so that your kids are even more amazing than they already are, because you see them so much more, and you're making more money, and you're also more fulfilled because you're designing your own life the way that you want to. And that's where this 5-year vision works. 5 years ago, I wrote down I want to be an author. I didn't know how it was going to work, but I just wrote it down. I want to be a speaker. I want to get paid to speak. I want to live in a 6,000 square foot home on a golf course. I'm living in the same one right now, or the one that I proclaimed that I had no idea how that was going to work 5 years ago. I didn't know how I'm going to be a national bestseller of a book that was going to be in Barnes & Noble and Target, etc. But it happened because I wrote it down and I proclaimed it. I started believing in it. And I started taking the right action required in order for me to do that. But if I never wrote that 5-year vision in a hotel room in Sacramento, California 5 years ago, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I just want you to think about it. Take a time out of life and actually put pen and pad. Now, with that said, now things are going to kind of emerge where you're going to realize, okay, I have financial goals in the next 12 months. So 5-year vision statement, day in the life of you. And then second step is the 2 to 3 annual goals. And really saying them, I am. And like I said, present tense, I am earning X amount of dollars a month by December 31st, 2020. Okay, so they're going to be at the end of 2020. These are going to be 2 to 3, no more than 3 annual goals, financial goals, relationship goals, which you can grade 1 through 10. Maybe you're 5 now, but by the end of the year, you want to be at 10 with your spouse. So that's where the monthly initiatives come in. It's like, what are you going to do monthly? What are you going to do daily in order for you to be at 10 with your spouse? Okay, from their point of view. And then you also could have like maybe a health goal or a spiritual goal or a mindset goal that obviously is unique to you, but that's drawing you in and pulling you towards the vision of the next 5 years. So you do the 5 years, but then you go backtrack and then you're like, okay, if I want to be here 5 years from now, financially, mindset, health, spiritual, social, etc., well, where do I need to be at the end of this year? Okay, and yes, realistic, but at the same time, taking the judge's robe off and not being so realistic, okay? And then number 3 is monthly initiatives. So notice I didn't say monthly goals, it's monthly initiatives. What is the initiative that you're taking in the month of January? What are the to-do lists look like? What are the things that you need to initiate in your own life in order to make happen? So that's bringing you more clarity, more focus, more energy, more income, more fulfillment, more joy. That's moving you towards your vision of that annual goal and you actually achieve it. And then that's that's bringing you even closer to that 5-year vision of your life, because 5 years goes by fast, 1 year goes by fast. I always tell my clients and students, like, hey, you're going to die. Okay, you might not die today, you might not die tomorrow, knock on wood, great, you might not die next year, but there's going to be a day, it's going to come a day where you have 1 year to live. And you don't know in most cases that you have 1 year to live, but you have to act every single day like you have 1 year to live. And there is no more wasting time. If you hate your job, quit. If you hate your relationship, then either fix it or get out of it, okay? If you're in a toxic relationship, either fix it if it's your fault, or if it's not, get out of it. I don't know what holds people up, and I get it. I know it held me up. I knew it held me up in the past, especially in 2019. But I identified it, created the self-awareness, and chose to change and took the necessary action steps to get out of the rut, to create the breakthroughs in my life so I could transform into a better leader than I was. And also know what I'm not good at, and either delegate what I'm not good at, or maybe some things I had to get just better at. So that's going to be there too. So again, all of this self-awareness and working hard on yourself is great. Now, the last thing is the daily action steps. So it really comes down to even what my book talks about is you versus your routine, is doing something for 21 days or 66 days, or sometimes it takes people almost 300 days to actually break bad habits, to create new habits. And you can't just cold turkey bad habits. You have to align your bad habits with a good habit that replaces the bad habit. But like, for instance, I'll give you an example. A bad habit for me was working out after 9 a.m. On Monday through Friday in 2019. So what was bad about it is because I need to start my day by 11 to 12 p.m. where I'm on the phone, I'm already showered, I've already had breakfast or lunch, and I'm not hungry, and I'm focused, I'm ready to take my calls, okay, my appointments or coaching, whatever it looks like. But sometimes I'll get to the gym at 10, but I realized in 2020, I have to leave the house at 9, get to the gym at 9:15, do a 40-hour cardio routine, then a 40-hour weightlifting routine, then drive 15-20 minutes home, hop in the shower, eat lunch, whatever, take the vitamins and get the coffee. By 12 o'clock on for the rest of the weekday, I'm on it. I got my workout in. I'm feeling good about myself. I meditate right when I wake up in the morning. I journal. I go through the day, what I need to accomplish, and boom. And then I take weekends off. So I'm in this routine, but a bad habit was not care so much about the routine. So now I'm in the focus and the self-awareness of I'm going to care enough to switch it up and now be consistent in that routine. Okay, so that's just something that hopefully adds value to you. Just something simple that was actually, yes, it's a good thing to work out, but it was a bad thing for me to work out past 10 because that I started my day later. I caused anxiety. I got mad at things because I'm like, oh, I'm not getting enough work done, and blah, blah, blah. And it's just, it's just a mind funk if you don't really stick to a specific routine that's going to serve you. So daily action steps. What is your routine? When do you wake up? When do you go to bed? What do you want to accomplish? Why are you doing what you're doing? A lot of people just go to their job and do the things that they're doing, but they don't even know. They can't even tell you why they're doing them. Well, I get a paycheck. I put food on the table. Well, so what? Now we're living in 2020. You can do so much different things. I mean, you could join even our affiliate team in our coaching program where I'm paying 50% cash, minimum $1,000, just by being an appointment setter. For people that book appointments with me, they're getting $1,000. So if you're making $3,000 a month, well, you can look at the affiliate program and you could probably make more part-time working with, not for me, but with me in what we're doing in our offerings of our coaching, group coaching and one-on-one coaching. Then you can even make it a full-time 40, 50-hour week job. There's so many different options that people have now, but they got to open up their mind. They got to step over their fears. They got to overcome their challenges and their mindset and their money mindset, because it's just a horrible epidemic out there where 97% of people in society, they don't think big at all. They don't even think small. They're not even thinking. Their brains are turned off, it seems like, and they're just wandering generalities, like Zig Ziglar says. So don't be that person, and don't chase what everyone else is chasing, which is nothing. What are most people chasing out there? I have no clue. Chasing traffic, chasing a boss to give them a raise or time off. They're chasing the weekend. because they can't stand their life during Monday through Friday. I mean, I don't know why they do that, but there's options. You don't have to live that life, but you got to have the courage in order for you to, first of all, know why you've lived in that life for so many years and what is it going to take to get out of that life. And my opinion, my advice to you in closing is listening to podcasts, reading books like mine, You Versus You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win. You want a good kick in the ass? Read my book. We all need it. And I say it out of love in a very empathetic way. It's a very incredible kick in the ass, okay? You'll love it. And other books in the self-help of the transformational categories. And hiring a coach for the people that are real serious. Hiring a coach is going to guide them so that they can be their own guide so that they can guide others. So hopefully this helps a little bit or a lot to you or anyone that's listening to this podcast to say, you know what, I'm going to take action. This is not just another set annual goals and that's it. This is a very strategic way to look at the 4-step way to achieve your dreams and your goals from somebody that actually has done it and continues to do it in this format that works like a charm every single time. Now, of course, get a planner, plan this all out in writing, get a very strategic planner that you can put in the times and the dates and your calendar and your routine so that you're winning those battles. But we're going to bring a lot of this in 2020 to you to life. And then on a side note, definitely check out the link in my Instagram profile. Definitely, it's not out there. It's in you.com. And you can definitely see what we're doing and some of the offerings that we have in our coaching program. So we're coaching people on the group end, a 12-week program called Inside You that people can literally have the virtual videos every single day delivered to them, week in, week out, first 4 weeks of discovery, second 4 weeks of breakthrough in their life, creating those breakthroughs, and the last 4 weeks is transformational leadership. And then they're getting me live on a group Zoom and with live Q&A every single week for 12 weeks while they're doing the virtual. So it's both virtual and physical. And you can check out more information on my site about all of that and even becoming really a student of our Inside You group coaching offering. And then we also have the one-on-one offering, which we only have a few spots left on that, where I literally coach you one-on-one. I coach you every other week. And then we also do group coaching with all the one-on-one clients. There's 2 amazing workshops at the end of March and June. And then we have our You Versus You annual event for everyone in August. So you're going to hear a lot about this throughout the podcast, throughout my social media. We have celebrity trainers that are going to be announced very soon, well-known people. And also, we're also developing my own clients into trainers and speakers and authors, which has been amazing. We've had people been published that I've been coached or coaching them as my own clients. They've been published by publishers, and their books are in Barnes & Noble coming in 2020 and Target and Walmart. We're also developing leaders and speakers at our event in August that are going to be sharing the stage and speaking their truth and sharing their testimonial of transformation as well. So if that resonates with you at all, just let us know. Our team will definitely get back to you. You can go on my Instagram at Todd M. Cahill, and you can definitely send me a DM. And if you like this podcast, definitely share it on Instagram and Facebook. We really appreciate you. And of course, it's all about getting the message out to the people that really need to hear it. So thanks so much for tuning in to really our second season. Like I said in the beginning of this podcast, we are going to bring the heat. We're going to have an amazing list of speakers that are going to add tremendous value. So again, share it with a friend. And if there's anything that I could do for you, I'd love to get to know you. You can also be part of our free Facebook group page, the 12 Battle, the You Versus You page. Just let us know. It's You Versus You, the 12 Battles. And it's on Facebook, and you'll see my book, You Versus You. Definitely ask to join that group, and we'll accept you. And we just want to add a tremendous amount of value in 2020 to your life. So appreciate you, each and every one of you. Looking forward to helping you achieve all of your goals and dreams and beyond in 2020.
Welcome to the podcast. It's not out there, it's in you. This is Todd Cahill, best-selling author of the book, You Versus You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win. Welcome to season 2. And I'm so excited to have a podcast this year that just brings so much value with the guests that we're bringing on, and everything focused on the awareness that everything that you want in life is not about chasing the outside. It's actually understanding what's really inside of you, because we believe that you have all the ingredients to become the greatest version of yourself. But we want to dive into it, obviously, not only on this podcast, but throughout this whole season of season 2 to help you realize how great you really are. And today we have an amazing, incredible guest on this show. And I've known Emmanuel Zavaios for many, many years. And before I bring him on and how he's going to bless your day, bless your week, and maybe even bless your year, just with what he has to offer is absolutely, I would even say the word miraculous. What he does for people, what he's done for me personally, just in the past few months of what we call the body code, is absolutely incredible. So I want to, first of all, before I bring him on, we get right into the kind of the question and really adding value. Emmanuel Zavaios is one of the leading emotion and body code practitioners in the whole world. Okay, which is if you don't know anything about the body code, you're going to learn a lot about it today, which until about 4 or 5 months ago, I didn't know about the body code either. And I've meditated for many, many years every day. I've understood a little bit more each and every year about the subconscious and the conscious mind. But I'm really, really excited about this because, it all started, and Emmanuel will share his story, how we grew up in a household with parents in the medical field profession that are oncologists, obviously in that field. But what was really, really cool is he actually was inspired by his mother and his best friend. And I want him to definitely share that story and how she opened up his eyes to chakras and energy healing and different methods of healing because of her dedication to truly care about her patients' ailments. Emmanuel's mother had knowledge in alternative medicine, and this heavily influenced him at a young age, which ultimately leads to his future career as an emotion code and body code practitioner. Combined with his Christian faith, he found a deep, loving renaissance for energy healing and developed a burning passion to relieve emotional and physical pain in people. And prior to his energy work, Emmanuel worked in direct sales industry like myself. That's where we met back when I was in mid-20s and in Los Angeles, with international business experience in Mexico as a bilingual speaker and sales trainer. However, although he was talented, his success was minimal as he lacked fulfillment in his life, and he noticed a high percentage of turnover rate within the company he worked for, which totally, I want to have him talk about that too, because that really put a chip on my shoulders in my whole decade of my 20s. And I thought it was only me, why people weren't doing what they say they were going to do, which is very interesting. We're going to talk about that today. So basically, he went on to spend 2 months into this quest. The Emotion Code book came into his life by Dr. Bradley Nelson, where he realized why people quit on themselves and why marriages were not working. While undergoing his Emotion Code body code certification, he found pure joy through releasing stuck emotions in people and witnessing them find their God-given mission. The Emotion Code could have saved his mother from pancreatic cancer, and she would have given more value to society if her life didn't end so abruptly. There are millions of people that would have given more to this earth if they only knew that their emotional anchors were subconsciously taking days away from their lives. The body code is the most advanced healing system that can assist someone from a distance or in person. In November 2016, Coding Alternative LLC, and now I believe, Emmanuel, it is called Compass Healing, right?
Compass Healing, exactly.
Yeah, Compass Healing is just, he founded it actually recently in 2019, but he meets with 80 clients a week. I don't know how he does it. And he's met a lot with my clients. They just rave about his work, has the highest 5-star reviewed practice in the world. And he's fortunate to work with his soulmate, Jessica, who's just incredible in herself. And she also is a partner with the company and assists with administrative and also as the assistant of the Emotion Code practice. So, Emmanuel, it's good to have you here, bud. Hopefully I didn't, I got that right. I know you're so much more than just obviously what you've done. You've been a friend of mine just for so many years. I've watched your journey. I've watched your success. I've also watched your failures as you have watched mine. And we recently just have really become business partners. And it's been so exciting to see the work that you've done on me. It's been so exciting to see the work that you've done on a lot of my clients. And it's just it's almost too good to be true. So I wanted you to come on my podcast as my very first guest, because I believe that you do the most important work I've ever seen done in my personal development journey. So welcome to the It's Not Out There, It's In You podcast. It's great to have you on the call and obviously on this podcast today, Emmanuel.
Glad to be here, Todd. Thank you so much for that introduction. It was just really nice, and it kind of brought me back to kind of the journey, what it took to kind of get to this point to help a lot of people out. And I'm just very blessed to be here. So definitely ready to answer any questions, and we can definitely explore anything you and your fan base might be interested in.
Well, the first thing that brings to my mind is what is the body code? And then also, what is the emotion code? And how did you come about learning about it and then also becoming not only a practitioner, because I know there's, a thousand or a couple thousand out there in the world, but really one of the top practitioners in the world. I would love to start off by educating not only myself, but educating everyone that's listening into this podcast, really what those things are and what do you do?
Okay, so let's talk about that. So I think one of the main things that I want to let people know is that there comes a breaking point in your life, a moment where you just said, you know what, enough is enough. If you haven't been there, get ready. It's coming soon somewhere. But it was around 2000, around 2015, around there, 2014. I was like in a very state of malaise. I really wasn't a job, kind of like fish out of water. My relationship was, it was okay. My finances were meh. So just everything was just kind of like, what am I doing here? What am I doing with my life? I know I was meant for something like a higher purpose, but it really was just a fog around me. And if you've ever felt that way, then I know there's a way out. I want to let you guys know that there is hope out there. And really, what happened was I went on Amazon and I just said, whatever the algorithm of Amazon was doing at that time, just basically it recommended the emotion code. And I was just honestly looking for another self-development book. I was looking for another version of Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I don't know if anybody has been there where, you just want another book to supplement you for now, but it's just kind of like a Band-Aid, if you will. And so I just was looking for a book, and out comes this recommendation for the emotion code. And I remember it being delivered. It's so funny, actually. Now I look back, I remember when I got it, I kept reading it. And I was like, oh, this is energy healing. I was like, I don't know if, like, what would my dad think about this? Like, he's an oncologist, like, I really was I had kind of a little bit of a fear saying like, I found this amazing book. You should go read it. My dad would kind of like, he's a very practical, standard by the book oncologist for over 30 years, had his own practice in Linwood, California. And so, but when I started reading it, I was like, man, if this is true, if what I'm reading is real, then this can change millions of people's lives. And it kind of little by little I started opening up my mind to it. Long story short, what is the emotion code? So as many of you guys know, there's a lot of energy healing modalities out there. For example, Reiki healing, theta healing, even acupuncture is a form of energy healing. In fact, even meditation is actually a form of energy. You can actually release energies through meditation. But the reality is I happened to stumble upon the Rolls Royce of it, almost like the Bentley. In my mind, if I was going to get involved with anything, whether it was like a company or whatever, it's like I would like to be kind of like the most edgiest, most cutting edge form of something, And when I looked at the emotion code, I didn't know that was the case when I looked specifically at the emotion code. But basically, Dr. Bradley Nelson was a chiropractor for 20 years. He owned a brick and mortar business, as he calls it, where he was helping just clients out. He was a very prayerful chiropractor. I really want to make that known to everyone that he believes in God. He believes in Jesus Christ as his savior. And every time he says he's never met with a patient unless he prayed before. And sometimes he prayed by himself in quietness, or sometimes he prayed with the patient. But he's been doing that for years and years and years, because he knew that sometimes he would get information from above. It was almost like a download would just show up, and all of a sudden he would just know what to do with the patient. He says it didn't come all the times, but he knew it's like, if that's the case, then all healing comes from above, and he just needed to tap into it. And so he was just kind of sad that he couldn't help out his patients and all his clients. He said that there's obviously a ceiling to a chiropractor, what they can do to help out certain people with ailments and illnesses. And so then he just basically asked for help from above. He just started getting information and downloads about this energy healing modality called the emotion code, where basically, long story short, is your organs and glands produce these energies. See, we're all energy, right? If you were to look at your hand, and you were to look at it and you were to use a microscope and kind of multiply it and go in there, you would see hands, you would see a bone, you would see cells, and you would see energy, right? And so we're all made up of energy. We're all energetic beings. And what he did is the more and more research has come out that your organs and glands produce certain emotional energy. See, I thought it all came from your brain. And he made it very clear that the negative energies come from your organs and glands. For example, your liver creates anger, bitterness, guilt, hatred, resentment. Now, that's why people you probably know drink, like maybe lots of caffeine, or they drink, there's people that drink out a lot of alcohol. It's making the liver work extra hard. They have a fatty liver. Then obviously it's easy for them to feel anger, bitterness, guilt, hatred, resentment. And so through that, he realized that he made a chart. He's very organized, almost a perfectionist, if you will. And he made a chart of 60 emotions, and he made it in columns, like columns and rows. And he made it very easy using muscle testing, which is was founded around the 50s with a chiropractor. And most chiropractors, they know muscle testing, and usually they're looking for misalignments in the body. But you can also ask yes and no answers to the body. And so he used that what he was trained in, just and tapping into the biggest computer in the world, in the universe, which is our subconscious. Our subconscious is the greatest computer that has ever been. And tapping into it, it's kind of like the iceberg below, is finding out what's going on with people and what ailments they have. And just real quick, the body code is more of the full format of what he does. So the emotion code is within the body code. The body code is mapped into like 6 different areas, which is pathogens, misalignments, nutrition, lifestyle, also toxins, circuits and systems, and energies. And so there's over like 250 hyperlinks, and the emotion code is within the body code. But we use muscle testing and we use magnets to work with people to release certain energies that were founded in the body code system. So hopefully that kind of clarifies what it is.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. And what really got my attention, obviously, is you said Tony Robbins, and been a fan of his, been a lot of his seminars and stuff like that. And you said the new updated and expanded version of the book, The Emotion Code, which has sold a little under 200,000 copies worldwide. There's a story about Tony Robbins and Dr. Bradley Nelson, and Tony doesn't do a lot of forwards on any book. He doesn't really have to, but he actually wrote a new forward on the book, The Emotion Code. And you can pick this up on Amazon, anywhere, that you buy books. So, all our clients are going through the book right now, The Emotion Code. And of course, me and you have partnered up, kind of like The Emotion Code meets You versus You. Okay, so let's go to our background, Emmanuel. Me and you had a similar background, starting as entrepreneurs. And you were in Los Angeles. I was living in San Diego, and I was struggling in 2004 myself, and ended up being homeless and no card, no job. And then a stranger introduced me to a network marketing company called Legal Shield, which that's what it is now, but it was prepaid legal. And we both kind of went up the ranks. You were in that LA event, and you worked hard. I worked hard. We were on different organizations, but like I think we both can agree, we met with fantastic people. I mean, we were in the heart of like Los Angeles and San Diego and Orange County with people that had money and needed obviously attorneys and legal insurance. But how many times did somebody come to us and basically say they're going to do it? They're excited. We took them to events that were at 500, 1,000, sometimes even like 5,000 people in Anaheim. And people would just quit. And these are people that were real estate agents and sharp people that wanted financial freedom. And why is that? Why, through the emotion code and the body code, now what you know now at age 38, what me and you wished we knew back in our early 20s, to be able to understand why someone might not have that conscious success of that action and taking massive action and going to the seminars, like Tony Robbins says, make a decision, take massive action. Why that's almost impossible sometimes if somebody has trauma in their life and trapped emotions. So explain to me just what you have seen, what you've studied, what you've also been through in the past 6 years with your own clients, and why that is, and how you've helped people overcome all that.
That's a great question. I think one of the major reasons why, if you really look at it, we have to look back at what does a trapped emotion do. So let's go back to that reference point, is that Dr. Brad, founded these energies inside of us, the size of a tennis ball to a cantaloupe. So imagine when you feel an emotion, what happens when you feel that emotion? You get quote unquote over it. Let's say you feel sad. Sometimes some of you guys who are listening to this, it takes you 10 minutes and boom, you're out. Some of you guys, it may take an hour or 2 hours, and then all of a sudden you're over the sadness. Sometimes it takes weeks. What's really happening around that time is that these emotions, these little energies are being processed through your skin. And as they're doing that, you're feeling the emotion, and then like boom, it just pops out. Now, if it doesn't pop out if it's like a very heavy, strong emotion, it can get stuck in the body. Now that trapped emotion kind of keeps your body in the past. It's like you haven't moved on. Physically, you've moved on. Time has moved on, but that it's almost like that's a memory inside the body, and it's easy for you to feel that emotion 24/7, 365 days a year, and that's a problem. Why? Because you want to write this down. The word is reactive. It makes you reactive. Now, let's say, for example, let's look at a young child who's felt a lot of maybe like a lot of rejection in their life. They were bullied at school. Their father wasn't home, and their mother neglected them in some ways, and she was actually physically home. So maybe that little child felt neglect or rejection over and over again. Now, there's certain versions of rejection in the body code, like there's certain energies like psychic traumas, emotional resonance energies. These are all different types of energies. But let's just say like the theme of it is rejection. When they go out to a direct sales business, they think that they're going in there by themselves. And we've talked about it, Todd and I don't know if we've obviously said this before with leaders in the business. Leave your baggage at the door. Leave it at the door. It'll be there when you come back. I mean, that was a very famous saying. I really wish I could have been there and told the speaker, nobody leaves it at the door. They all come in with it, and you can't stop it. And the reality is that these emotions, they're making them be reactive. So that guy comes in there, and he's getting trained. He goes off in the week. Someone rejects him on the phone. He's waking up trapped emotions from age 11, 12, 9, 7, 2. I mean, it's all coming to him, and it's heavy on him. And he's like, why do I feel so offended by this rejection? It's because he is not healed from his past. So depending on what they have in their past makes them, like if they have a lot of anger, a lot of frustration, energies in their body, they're going to easily feel what? Frustration, rejection, things like that. And those heavy emotions, the leader who's working with them doesn't understand why they're so reactive. And so that's why, and again, it wasn't you, Todd, it wasn't your leadership, it wasn't anybody's leadership. It was the fact that they're dealing with their trauma, and it's almost like they're time travelers feeling the energies again of what they've trapped before. So that's one of the major reasons of sabotage in that business.
That's amazing. And, that has happened so many times. And now that we know kind of the truth of it, can you dive into what happens in one of your healing sessions that you actually do for people? I know you've worked with me, and I've gotten graphs, I've gotten the notes from it. I've actually felt immediately better on some of my physical stuff, and of course, removing the heart walls. So I think a lot of times, that is the beginning stages of what you do, is removing the heart walls. And what does that even mean? And of course, being a Christian myself and a believer, and understanding, for me, I know how powerful I am as a human being, how God created me, and what really is at my fingertips. But just having that direction and that self-awareness of knowing how I can leverage this, I think we all might think maybe the same, but I don't know, because I truly believe that I know that I have all the ingredients to be the greatest Todd that I can be. I mean, I could be the next big thing. I mean, Gandhi was just one guy. He obviously realized that he had something inside of him that he had to share. Martin Luther King Jr., Oprah Winfrey. I mean, all these amazing people, they're not special if you really think about it. They're just like me. They have flesh just like you, blood flowing through their body, but they have something inside of them that maybe they've gotten mentors, they've gotten coaches, they've gotten people to pull their greatness outside of them, but they've been through massive heartaches, massive ups and downs. So when you work with anyone, obviously you work with a lot of different types of people, entrepreneurs, moms, dads, single people, young people, older people. What's like one of the first things that you want to help someone with when you're on the phone with them?
So the first thing I want to do is I want them to know that this is real, right? So the first thing is, they say in the good book, that all you need is the faith of a mustard seed, and you can move mountains, right? And back in those rabbinical times, they talk about how moving mountains was kind of like a gesture in regards to like obstacles in your life. It's almost like a saying, 40 days, 40 nights. Didn't really mean it was exactly 40 days, 40 nights. 40 days, 40 nights was just a saying of like a very, very long time. And it's just something they used to say. Kind of like if I said I parked in Egypt, it didn't mean I actually parked in Egypt. It means my car is really far away, And so one of the things is the faith of a mustard seed. If you see a mustard seed, it's really, really small, like very, very small. And to move a mountain, what? And so the thing is that what I love is when I meet with people, it's kind of cool. Everyone comes in at different levels of faith. Some people are like, I've done enough research. I've seen enough testimonials. This sounds like this is something that works. And there's a skeptical person who comes in. But here's something that I always remind my clients, first of all, is that, you showed up to your session. So if you really didn't believe that this is going to work, you wouldn't have showed up to your appointment. That's almost like the first level of faith, is like they showed up. Number two is I like to work on pain tension. If you remember, Todd, I worked with you and we were working on some part of your body that felt very sore. I'm trying to remember if it was like the traps.
Yep,
I think it was the
that's
traps
correct.
area.
Yeah,
Was
it
it?
was the traps.
Yeah, it was the traps. Yeah, so we were just releasing some trapped emotions from that were affecting that area, and I noticed the two things that you noticed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but one of them was obviously the pain was going down, and number two, he felt kind of a peace, sort of a calmness that started coming over him, and that is usually signs of the body actually feeling relief. And I was reminding him, I said, "This is what it feels like to have relief." So you asked me, what do I do in a session? Typically, the first session is I want to increase the faith of the client. I want to let them know how real it is, and how do you make that assumption is that it has to be something tangible. Now, so pain is very, very tangible. We can put it on a number scale from 1 to 10 and we lower it. So that's the second thing. You want me to talk about the heart wall? The heart wall is the greatest discovery in energy healing history. I'll say it again. It is the greatest discovery in energy healing history. And I've become very, very good friends with Dr. Brad. Him and I are very, very close. I've been invited to his home multiple times. I've flown on a plane with him to like some Native American Indians in Arizona, and healing people who have strong addictions and are like basically in an addiction program, and seeing the beautiful work of the Emotion Code Body Code working with these beautiful people there. And so I have seen some things now. And what's interesting is that the heart wall was discovered by Dr. Brad due to the fact that it was interesting. His wife, Jean Nelson, she actually used to have a lot of depression. She grew up with a father who was a rageaholic. And so he grew up with just a lot of yelling in the home. Maybe somebody who's listening here can relate to that. And what happened was she started feeling these feelings of depression very easily, but she always felt like she was always outside looking in, and just not feeling like connected with people. And she never knew why. And she had a dream about something, and Dr. Brad kind of like was kind of analyzing her dream, going like, there's something special about that dream. Obviously, you know that in multiple times in the Bible, it talks about how dreams is one way of the way God communicates with mankind. So he was just kind of like, there's something about her dream. And basically, long story short, is he went to his office and he saw this vision. And the floor started changing. It was this amazing, beautiful floor. And he heard this voice saying that your wife's heart is underneath this floor. And for the first time in history, he actually muscle tested her. So, I'm very skeptical about, what this all means. And do you know what this means? I had this vision. She says, I have no idea what you're talking about. So then he says, okay, well, let me just check on you real quick, and says, do you have a heart wall? I think he maybe called it a heart floor before, but then he says, do you have a heart wall? For the first time in history, using muscle testing, the arm said yes, which obviously the body does not lie. And the heart wall, these are the 5 symptoms of the heart wall. Do you mind if I kind of share these?
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. So the 5 symptoms of the heart wall are this. Number 1, if anyone's taking notes, this is very, very powerful. If you have depression, anxiety, or PTSD, you can literally lower those down sometimes 60, 70, 80 to 90%, just removing the heart wall. That's number 1. But there's 5 positive symptoms that come from the heart wall. Number 1 is more energy. I mean, who doesn't want more energy? And have they found more studies that they don't call, 20 years ago, it was probably like, your brain is what's controlling everything in the body, et cetera. But what's happening is there's more studies now that your heart is actually a second brain, and that it actually sends messages to different parts of your body, to your organs and glands. So if that's the case, if you have a lot of trauma around you, what happens is your body, if your heart has pain or just going through some emotional stress, your body is placing a trapped emotion over the heart. And it's called the heart wall. But technically, it's a trapped emotion placed over the heart. And it's preventing you from having what? Broken heart syndrome, BHS. If you asked a cardiologist 20 years ago, what causes broken heart syndrome? They'll say, some chemical imbalance, blah, blah, blah. They'll kind of have a different variation of what is said now. Now, if you ask a Mayo Clinic, cardiologist, and ask them what causes broken heart syndrome, their answers are very, very different. And they're waking up to it. They're saying it's emotional stress, physical abuse, sexual abuse, stress at work, someone passes away, death in the family, relationship trauma. All those things can cause broken heart syndrome, where the heart the tendons inside the heart are being stretched and the heart collapses. That's what broken heart syndrome is. So your body has a defense mechanism against that. It takes trapped emotions, it places it over the heart. And as you do that, though, symptoms of depression, anxiety, PTSD get worse. And then also these 5 things start happening. So number 1 is you get more energy. Number 2 is you get clarity of mission in your life. Number 3 is you feel more love and connected from others. Number 4 is your love influence becomes clear. And then number 5, it gives you more access to abundance and wealth. So not only does it help out depression, anxiety, PTSD, but it also helps out in those 5 different areas. So Todd, what you were asking, where do you go first? I typically, no matter what symptoms my clients are going through, whether it's health or emotional, I tend to go to the heart wall first while working on other symptoms at the same time.
That's amazing. So what happens to a human being, because you've been doing it for 6 years, one of the top practitioners in the world, let's say somebody's healed. Okay, cool. They've been through a lot, and then all of a sudden, like, they release these trapped emotions, their heart walls go away. It's just like they really believe, right? Like, they believe in themselves. Obviously, a lot of people lack self-confidence, that we've seen just in like some of our businesses that we've done together in the past and stuff. And of course, it's always it feels like something's always holding people back, and that's why I wrote the book You Versus You. But what if we didn't really have anything holding us back? What do you think is possible on the conscious side of all of this? So basically what you're doing, Emmanuel, is you're working so closely with people on the subconscious side, which really holds people back their whole life. And it's really sad if you really think about it. It's very sad. But what you're saying is, of course, we pray and meditate, and but the whole faith without works is dead. So they're taking action, getting healing, trapped emotions are going away, abundance mindset is happening. What have you seen, even from your own clients or people that have totally healed? Like, what happens to their life on the more conscious side? What happens to their mindset? Does it increase? We all heard about like the 10x thinking and stuff like that. Like, what have you seen, like, when somebody actually can really now focus on their dreams, their goals, and how they can accomplish this amazing vision that they've always had?
That's a great question. So in regards to this work, I kind of make a joke about it that the only person that Dr. Brad has found that has no trapped emotions was somebody who was a monk and had orange robes around him and lived in the forest. And then Dr. Brad said, I remember he announced it on stage. He says, "This is the only person that I've ever found that has nothing on them." But you have to understand that we don't have time to meditate for 10 hours a day. We live in a like suburban, wherever you live or whatever, there's just stress everywhere, excess toxic cortisol everywhere. We have to find some way to repair. The ramifications of doing the emotion code, the long term, as if you will, the end game of it, is that you become less reactive, which is very powerful. I almost feel like the entrepreneur's secret sauce would be less reactive. Almost what we call, like, we would love to equip people with rhino skin. But if they have a bunch of trapped emotions and everything like that, they almost have no skin. they're literally running around with their human body system completely naked, and they have no covering at all. And that's why they're so easily vulnerable to whatever war they're dealing with. And so I think it's really important that the end game is that you become less reactive, so that you're more present and you're really being with whatever you're really present with whatever is happening in your life. And what that does is, it also, like, whenever, for example, let's say you make a negative statement like, I don't, let's say a positive statement like, money comes easily and frequently to me. It's a great, you can get that probably affirmation anywhere on the internet. You can find it on The Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. It's everywhere. The problem is that how much does your body actually believe that? You see, and if your body is kind of putting off a music into the world where it says, I don't really believe that, then the problem is that the world will react to the energies you have. So it's almost like the missing component in the book, The Secret. It's the missing chapter. If you notice, if a lot of people who watch The Secret, I would bet to say that 90% of those people do not receive the results from what Rhonda Byrne was promising. And there's a little 10% that do. And it all has to do to their specific trauma that they've received. So I think, to answer your question, they become less reactive. They start putting off a different music, and results come a lot quicker. But the reason why I like Todd and I are involved together, working together now, is because they're missing the conscious side. I work with a lady that was in Europe, for example, and she was getting into the stock market, and she was like, wants to become a day trader and everything like that. And what I've noticed is that the disciplines that it takes to become successful in that niche, don't come to fruition only if their subconscious is programmed. So their subconscious was locked and loaded. I helped them out with abundance. We did abundance goals to match it. We did abundance mode, which means like, the magnets that you have to increase your abundance. I mean, we went through the gamut with abundance. But if she doesn't read the books, if she doesn't have a good mindset on the conscious side, if she doesn't have a good coach, if she doesn't have all these certain things to like place herself in the right area mentally, consciously, then she's going to fail. And so I think that's where you come in. And I've spoken very highly about your work and what you do, and it's very, very important. The conscious brain needs to align with the subconscious. And I feel like even some of my clients who they were wishing for a better life, I tell them, like, look, if you're not doing the conscious work, if you don't have a transformational coach in the conscious side, you're really missing out on the full package.
So, Emmanuel, what is just from all of your past, and you've had a lot of success, you're an entrepreneur like myself, you're 38 years old, you've also been through a lot of tough times just like myself. We've both been divorced and really remarried and about to get remarried, etc. Learned a lot, been through some traumas ourselves. What does this work do for someone? I mean, there's a lot of skeptics out there, including myself, I'm sure, and many of the things that we see on the internet. And I think my challenge is when I look at like an Instagram post or a Facebook post, a lot of it's surfacey, like hire a coach, or this coach is going to do this and this coach is going to do that. For me, it's like either people are coaching people on performance, leadership, achievement, or obviously the great people like Dr. Joe Dispenza, kind of immersed, about 5 years ago into the social media world, where he wrote the book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And there's some mind coaches out there. But never before have I ever seen two people come together and really attack the whole subconscious and the conscious, the emotion code, body code meets the you versus you. So, for me, it's like when you can actually react, like for instance, let's go back to what you were saying, when someone gets, for instance, rejected. So if, let's say they're dating, maybe they divorced and they're out in the dating scene again, and, they maybe keep getting rejected. Why does that happen? And also, how can someone actually learn from that rejection and build on it? Like a wannabe Hollywood actor who just constantly gets rejected, but they have so much passion every day that it doesn't even faze them. So how can that person finally get that gig and even become, an Academy Award winner, as opposed to somebody who gets rejected once, gives up, and doesn't really seek the help that they've wanted? How do we create that self-awareness for the world that people need this? People need both the subconscious. This is way even different than hiring a therapist or consult or a psychologist. Not that I've had a therapist for many years myself, but this is kind of amazing work that we're really doing, and it's just unbelievable how it's fallen in both of our laps. But what is possible when both of this comes together? I mean, it could be quite scary in a good way. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
To answer that very, very simply is anything is possible. And I really mean it with all my heart. With all the work that I've done and with my experience in the last 6 years, I have seen some stuff in regards to like you were saying, almost miracle-like. It's almost like when people come, for example, this is also very important too, is that this will kind of let everyone know how much the unseen is actually controlling us. And it's very, very important to know that there are some energies in the body code that sabotage yourself, that are self-sabotaging. Then there's energies in the body code that offend others. And so there's kind of there's two battles. Speaking of battles of you versus you, there's also you versus you, but there's also you versus them. And what's interesting is that I've worked with people where they have, for example, a broadcast message. And what a broadcast message is, for example, just to give you, this is in the body code. The broadcast message is like almost like picture yourself wearing a shirt and it says, "Don't trust me." And that might have come from a trauma when you were very, very young of going like, I don't trust people because I don't trust my father. You might have an image there below it that kind of backs it up of your father being somebody that you got betrayed by. So it's almost like, you have a very interesting relationship with the word trust. And it's like, well, if you can't trust my father and he's my figure, you probably can't trust me. I come from him. I'm from the same tree. I'm the apple. The problem is that now when you have that, people, when they're walking around, you're like, for some reason, I just don't trust that person. And see, and throughout your life, I can probably bet on it. I can say, where, how are you with sales, or how are you with, starting relationships? It's like, yeah, they always seem to run away, or they seem to not finalize anything. Well, yeah, it's because you have a shirt on that says, like, I don't trust you, and they can feel it. Like, as soon as they get in your energy field between 10 to 12 feet, you're doomed. Their subconscious is already reading your subconscious, and now they're acting according to what your energies have. And their subconscious is going like, why do they have that shirt on? Well, let's just act accordingly to what his shirt says. And then you get that result. And that's a problem for you, and the fact that you're not giving yourself the greatest shot. So I think it's very important to work. So you have to remove those energies that are offensive and the energies that sabotage you. And you have to just work on your mindset. Like I said, you can work with me, but if you have like bad money philosophies, we have a problem. You are a bomb about to explode. The bomb is because I gave you all the powder. You're ready to, but you don't want to explode on yourself. And that's what will happen if you don't work on the conscious brain. And so, because I know, Todd, I've done research on your life in regards to the fact that the only way that you can grow in the type of industry that you're in is through self-development, through absorbing from people that are going the right way, people that are leaders. I know you've been mentored by John C. Maxwell. It's very important to like get mentored by the right people to sort of get the right mindset. If you don't have that mindset, but you have the right energies, that's also a plan for failure. And so I think, I hope hopefully that answers your question.
It does, and I'm so excited about the second episode that we're going to have, season 2 here on my podcast. We're going to really hit on money because that is the biggest stress of everyone's life. It's what we worry about most. I don't care what anyone says. Research has backed that up. 70% of couples argue about money on a week-to-week basis. And these are some of those beautiful couples that are just still struggling financially. So we're going to bring up the emotion code and the body code here in the second episode, a lot about financial stuff, because people need to hear that. And we all, including myself, I mean, we all have money trauma too. So wrapping up this first episode, that leads us obviously in our second episode here. Emmanuel, obviously, first I want to thank you. I know your time is incredibly valuable. I know the work that you do is insanely valuable. And I wanted just to highlight, we have these battles. I wrote the 12 battles, and I'm kind of piggybacking off what you just talked about. Let me just go ahead and just share what the 12 battles are from my book, and then I'll finish up with the last question here for you and some closing comments. But we have a battle right now in our society of you versus your persona. The edited version of ourselves that we're creating. Fake it till we make it. The Dan Bilzerian, multi-millionaire, let's get the girls in the bikinis, let's do a lot of videos. That's the way that young people need to see life as. So we have that trauma going on. We have high school students killing themselves, 25% suicide rate now more than ever because of social media, not getting enough likes and comments, etc. Then we have you versus our success, you versus dreams, you versus your routine, you versus your calendar, you versus your finances. We're going to hit a lot about that. And freedom, you versus your freedom, you versus your promises, even why people don't even keep their promises. You versus your health, you versus your relationships, you versus your knowledge, you versus your future. Emmanuel, your work is so critical to all of these battles. And we all are going to go through these battles consistently, not all at one time, obviously. But if you took all these battles, I would say the biggest ones for all of us are definitely going to be you versus your finances, you versus your relationships, probably as number one, because that really makes or breaks people. I mean, depression, anxiety, fears doesn't really come from ourselves. It really comes from other people in our lives. Broken relationships, mother-father relationships, etc. And I think the other one would really be health. Without health, you have nothing. So how does the emotion code, body code really help targeting these 3 most important battles out of the 12? And how can somebody really go from maybe the worst part, the black hole that they might be in listening to this, that me and you both been in, how can they come out of it and win and win those battles through the work that you do?
So one of my favorite books is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. What's interesting is he actually asked, I think it was around, I remember even the page, I think it was almost page 74. I don't know why I remember the page number, but it said something to the extent of where is the preacher man that has wealth? the preacher man, because we've learned the idea of like, money is the root of all evil, which is wrong, because it's not the full verse. The context is off. It's the love of money that's the root of all evil. And it talks about that, like, the preacher, how much more empowered he would be to help other people in his faith, outside of his faith, humanitarian projects, if he only just had more money, if he could fly around and assist people. Where is that preacher? Wallace D. Wallace was calling that preacher out back in the 1900s. So I think it's really interesting to kind of look at that, to be like, we have the thing that, and I remember you spoke about this once, Todd. You're saying like the things we avoid talking about has now plagued us. Is the reality, that we don't talk about religion. Well, now we have a lot of religions now. Don't talk about money. It's like now we're all broke. It's like because we stopped, like we just started passing down that thing of we don't talk about this, and now we're all in trouble. And I really think it's like it's now. Let's not make it taboo. Let's just go ahead and talk about it, have an open discussion about it. But then we just can't, this time around, we just can't deny the energetic body, that we are emotional, energetic beings. We can't deny it anymore. And that is going to be like the new world is going to be involved with your intuition and inner peace. That's the new world. Because we already did the information age, guys, and we are not happy. We are more unfulfilled than we've ever been. So we have to go into the intuition age. Like what is our spirit saying, and also what is really truly bringing inner happiness. So to answer your question, I really believe that it does take a process to release energies from someone, to do the heart wall, to do body code sessions. It's going to take time, but compared to what? It's like either we're growing or we're dying. So I really feel like if what you've been doing hasn't been working for you, then it's probably because there are anchors behind you, energetic anchors, that if we just release them, we would move way, way further along. And I think the last thing I want to share with you is that in regards to abundance, for example, let's just talk about the, you versus your finances. I really think too, it's like, remember, our subconscious was meant for one thing and one thing alone, is to keep you safe. Emotionally, physically, and spiritually. It's just got that mechanism. It's just to keep you safe. That's why as soon as you get chased by a bear, what's the first thing that happens? Is the blood starts going to different parts of your body, but it starts neglecting your organs and glands. That's why if you get chased by a bear enough, your body starts going into a tailspin. Your immune system does not function the way it used to before. But the question is what's the difference between you fighting a bear and you fighting your wife? Not much. It's very close, actually. You might have that fight or flight in the same process. And so we're living in a world of excess cortisol times a million. Like we're all stressing out our bodies. We have no release. And that's where the emotion code, body code can come in to help you out. And then, like I said, now once you're energetically getting rejuvenated, do you now have a new mindset about things? And again, that's where the you versus you battle comes in, is that you need to change the way you think, so that way it doesn't happen again. And then you have the energy to do it.
Awesome. And closing up this episode here, and we're looking forward to obviously having you back on episode 2 to talk a little bit more in detail about like the money part of it and money mindset, because I think it's just so important. And we'll talk about that on episode 2. But, what have we done together, Manuel? We have partnered together, and we're having clients now all over the country and all over the world come together in this Inside Out program. And we're really excited about, obviously, our March 26th workshop here in Illinois, which you're coming with your girlfriend. And we have, about 30 people coming to this workshop for our very first one. We started this 4 months ago. And we really believe that with the subconscious coaching from you and the conscious coaching from me and the partnership, we're taking this on the road. I mean, not only are we working with clients one-on-one and also through the group, through Zooms and stuff like that every single month, every single week, with accountability, with homework assignments to not only help them, end the emotional traumas and baggage that they might have and really realize how great that they are, but also really take massive action to become coaches, speakers, authors, leaders, thought leaders, stepping outside their comfort zone, thinking differently, realizing how great they really are. And then into the workshops that we're doing twice a year, and into our annual event in September with some celebrity amazing speakers as well, meaning high influential New York Times bestselling authors. So this year is just poised for a ton of growth for me and you. I'm really looking forward to going on tour with you. I know we're going to be in Illinois at the end of this month, and then Kansas City in April. looks like New Jersey in May, taking our message to the world as a form of workshops where people can come in and literally hear from us. And you actually could do live healings, which is just incredible. You've done some through Facebook and Facebook Live. You've done some, obviously, through different Zooms, and to have you actually live is just so remarkable. So, Emmanuel, where can people find you? Where can people look you up? Look up your company, Compass Healing, maybe even reach out to you, schedule a call with you. I know you can do some free healing calls as well, so people can actually, really just kind of feel it, kind of go through that process, which I did the first time, and it was just absolutely incredible. And they're very short, and you can even do it through email, which blows my mind. So where can people find you, Emmanuel?
Yeah, the easiest way is to, there's two different places on Facebook. You can look up Compass Healings with an S at the end. So Compass Healings, you'll find our practice there. You can read some reviews. Also, you can go on YouTube, and we actually, I have over about 350 videos that I've been doing. So we're actually the most watched YouTube channel in the emotion code, body code world. So just look up Compass Healing on YouTube, and you'll see a ton of videos. If you're kind of new to this, I recommend watching What is the Emotion Code, and then write down and type down 15 minutes, or What is the Heart Wall, 15 minutes, and then I'll give you, it basically gives you a review of what I spoke about. But to schedule a session, you can either, like I said, go on Facebook, you can find me on there, or you can also email my assistant, which is schedulemyhealing@gmail.com. If you want to just email her there, and then we can set something up, and I look forward to helping anybody out.
And I would just say, guys, yes, I've been a salesman my whole life, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, I would just implore you to reach out to Emmanuel. This is the kind of thing I've been praying about for many, many years. To even be a partner of his, to do what we're doing together is just unbelievable blessing. I just can't wait for the person that hears this today and actually takes action, because that's what I've always been about. I did a couple other podcasts earlier today talking about my story of how, I reached out to Pat Williams, and he flew me to, the vice president of Orlando Magic many, many years ago. And I was working for John C. Maxwell. He told me, why am I working for John? Why not be the next John? And it was because I read his book about Michael Jordan, and I just reached out to the phone number in the back. I called the phone number, and a week later, I'm sitting down with the author for 6 hours at Stamstein's restaurant in Orlando, Florida. Pat Williams of the vice president of Orlando Magic in the NBA. So, anything's possible, but you've got to take the action if you really want the change. And I always tell people that I talk with, you've got to be desperate. And I'm not saying be desperate if you're trying to date someone, because that's a whole different desperate. But I'm talking about being desperate for transformation, being desperate. Maybe you're at your ends and you're just like, I don't know what to do. And even suicidal or even depressed. I've been there. I've attempted suicide twice in my life. I'm telling you, this is the kind of work that can literally make the shift. This is the kind of work that really can absolutely shift your life into new patterns, new thoughts, new ideas, new habits, new energies, new passions. But everything has always been inside of you, but it's just a different perspective. It's redefining the battle that you're facing right now, and then repeating wise choices over and over and over again, and having someone like myself and Emmanuel walk you through and guide you through that. Everyone needs help. Ask and you shall receive. Knock and the door shall be opened unto you. So, Emmanuel, it's been an absolutely incredible pleasure to have you on our first episode. Looking forward to diving into episode 2, where we really address specifically some of the money trauma that people have and how they can start living truly like abundance that they were meant to live, and not just talk about it. So, Emmanuel, thank you so much. Any closing comments from you, sir?
I'm very excited about what we're doing, and I really feel like this is going to be very revolutionary, and we're going to go we're just starting nationally, and I believe we're going to go on a global scale, and the world needs to know about your transformative work and the work that Dr. Bradley Nelson has started of the Emotion Code and Body Code. So definitely looking forward, and thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being on. I really appreciate it. All right, guys, by the way, if you like this episode, definitely give it a 5-star review. Share it with anyone that needs to hear this. It would mean the absolute world to me if you can share this message with at least one person that really needs to hear the episode that we filmed and created today and recorded. Thank you so much, and we'll hear you next time.